Thank you so much for joining the Dr. Whisperer podcast show. I am your host, Sharon Feckety, and you are here to listen to others talk about the business of medicine. Don't forget to subscribe, share it with somebody else that is in the business of medicine so we can all learn together. Thank you for being here and enjoy the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. Very happy to have a returning guest and very excited to hear about what has been going on since the last time we talked, which was in the strange time in our lives. I think it was like a pandemic or something. Dr. Rosana Lastra, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I don't even remember what year it was that we last talked.
Exactly. Pretty much, I feel like from 2019, just the end of 2019 to just about the end of last year, big old blur. Big old blur.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I had a baby in that time, so I have an even bigger blurb just from all the parenting. Like, what day is it today?
So exciting that you have your own little baby now and that you've been taking care of so many babies. So it really is so super special and wonderful. Congratulations. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your exciting practice, Head to Toe Pediatrics, that I've been such a fan of since the day I found out you were opening.
Oh, thank you so much. I know it may be a new podcast for some viewers. I can give a general overview and then kind of talk about what's new with the practice too.
Yes.
But Head to Toe Pediatrics is a concierge pediatric practice serving Tampa Bay families. And we started back in 2020 offering house calls for families for all pediatric care. So that's well visits, sick visits, and 24/7 telemedicine access to me directly. So families really love that. It's grown since then. We've been doing great. And actually this year we also opened an office in downtown. Yes.
Where is it?
Downtown St. Pete. It's think of St. Anthony's. It's right across from St. Anthony.
Congratulations.
So, yeah, I know. It's so exciting. In addition to our house call plans, now we have an in-office plan. So we have definitely a lot more offerings for families. And it's different than your typical pediatric office because it's just a small little space, no waiting room, no staff that families have to be going through. It's just me and the family in this small space. We have our time there for the visits, and it's been great. So now we have 2 different options that families can choose to join.
My goodness, how exciting. So tell me, what prompted the offering of having an office space? Because I think it's so wonderful what you do. I think I've told you that many, many times in the past. I was very excited to know that finally there was going to be a forward-thinking young practitioner that, was going to do things a little bit different. And I love the fact that you have a space too. I'm sure that there are families that want to come to you instead of you coming into their home. So tell us what prompted that.
So throughout a lot of the feedback that we'd get from families who'd request about the services, some families didn't feel comfortable with me going into the home, but they still wanted that concierge level care. Others were that the family didn't like the child, didn't feel like the child would be comfortable with the doctor coming to their home. So that prompted that. And then another big factor was that some families wanted the concierge care, but they wanted it at a more affordable level for their budgeting. So we were able to do that with an office plan. Since I'm not having to drive all over the place, they can come to me. So that allows us to have a little bit more of a accessibility for other families that wanted the care.
I love it. So, all right, well, let's give the audience a scenario. So you are pregnant and this is your first baby and you are thinking about a pediatrician. So what comes with, like, really, because I really do think that there's this model of a practice that I ran for 8 years, right? Where you come into an office, you have a choice of all these doctors, you're going to see somebody different every time. You're always going to have to deal with staff. There's always like insurance issues and referrals and blah, blah, blah. Blase, blase, blase. So what makes yours so unique and special? So what about that new mom that maybe, because there's so many moms and dads moving, or moms and moms moving into St. Petersburg. So what offerings do you have? What's different?
Yes. So I guess we can kind of think of those first 6 months, since you're talking about a new baby with a new parent. One of definitely the biggest differences is the 24/7 access directly to me. You kind of mentioned how, you're seeing different doctors at another clinic. You may call the office if you have a concern and you get a nursing line. So we pretty much remove all of that. So families get my number to text directly to if they have questions or concerns. They can contact me directly, speak directly to the doctor, get a quick answer. They don't have to be waiting in a line of phone calls or nursing triages to try to find out an answer a day later, to be told they have to go into the office and they still haven't gotten a hold of the doctor.
Yeah.
So that access is really unique. In addition to that, the care tends to be a lot more personalized. So you may think about going to a doctor's office and being in the waiting room for a long time, but then you're only seeing the doctor for about 15 to 20 minutes at most. Sometimes it may even be less than that time. Parents, I often hear that they leave without feeling like their concerns were heard, or that all of their questions were answered, or that they were scared to ask more questions because they felt like the doctor was rushed. So we also remove that aspect out of care. So it's very personalized care. We focus on understanding the concerns, addressing all of those concerns, and making sure all of the questions are answered.
Oh, what a refreshing way. And I'm thinking about like in the middle of the night. So are you getting barraged with calls in the middle of the night? Do you get to sleep, especially now that you have a new child?
Well, my child keeps me up more than the office and work keep me up. But I do get to sleep. Actually, being available 24/7 allows family to reach out to me before any big major issues arise, right? So they may see this rash and they're contacting me. They're not waiting till 1 a.m. in the morning because they couldn't get a hold of anybody. And then they're in this bind where they can't get a hold of anyone. And then they're rushing to the emergency room or an urgent care, right? So having that access, and also having the longer visits where we're really addressing all of their concerns and questions, all of those things are taken care of either during the visit or during the day. So it's very rare times that I get an overnight call, but also families knowing that they can call me kind of puts them at ease, where they think, does this really need to be a 1 a.m. call, or can this be a 7 a.m. call? And that also helps because they know that, hey, the doctor will reply to me at 7 a.m. So my kid is fine now. This can really wait till 7 a.m. for me to talk to them about it. Definitely the most common overnight calls that I've gotten have all been very appropriate. It's been group. That's usually one thing that takes you to the ER in the middle of the night. Kids having really hard breathing. I definitely want to know about those. And sometimes some like colicky babies where the parents can't get them to settle down. Those are the most typical calls, which are very appropriate calls.
Yeah, I always used to find it fascinating when the doctors that I was working with would tell me how many people called in the middle of the night. And, we were only open until 3:00 in the afternoon. So many issues happen actually after 3 p.m. So if you give the opportunity to speak to a physician before going into that answering service nightmare, which let's just be real, it's quite the nightmare.
I know. I had to deal with that for myself too. I'm like, oh my God.
Right. So it's wonderful. And how have you isolated like a certain demographic? Is it more young parents, or what does it look like? What does your demographic mix look like?
I would say at the beginning, it was definitely a lot of new parents. I would say that I get a lot of different variety in terms of, families who may be middle class or higher class or lower class. That's been pretty even throughout. But what has been starting now to happen is that I'm getting more of like older kids that are starting the practice for the first time. So they're either looking to transfer care, or if they had been with a pediatrician, which that had not happened till kind of like later on. Usually, families may be established with a pediatrician and feel comfortable with the pediatrician. So it's definitely way easier to get those new parents, new families that haven't had any kind of contact with anybody else. But a lot more families are now aware of the concierge model. They've been hearing more about the practice. And then that kind of gets them to think about, oh, do I want more accessibility? Do I want more convenience? So I've been getting more older patients, which has been nice.
I love that. So what about your model? Obviously this is not an insurance model because this just could not happen in reality, right? So
Yes.
Everybody, this is a cash model. So, which is for me, I love, and I always talk about how I have the greatest insurance in the world. My husband, he is a lot like my father actually. So that was a Freudian slip. But he works for UPS, so we have really great insurance. But I have chosen to go, even my therapy that I go to, he's out of pocket, he's $100 an hour, and I would pay that because I think he's the best. And I'd really love to go to somebody that I feel like I'm getting that great concierge service from. So the things that I pay for out of pocket are really the most important things to me. And that usually involves my mental and my physical health. So can you talk about your model so people know what it looks like?
Yes. So we call it direct primary care. So that means the patients are paying me directly for the services that I provide instead of going through the insurance and me having to bill insurance and fight with insurance about what things they should be approving or not. So it just allows for a lot better care in terms of patient satisfaction because I'm able to do more. I'm not restricted by 15-minute appointments. I'm not restricted by sending a patient to someone who I think would be their best referral versus who's in network with their insurance, or having to prescribe a medication that is only through their insurance. I can really target that care to the families. I can provide more personalized care. I don't have to stick to the rules of this is when you have to do appointments because, you can't see them once a month. You have to wait 6 months before their next well visit because that's what the insurance will pay for, right? So we can really target that to the patient and be like, your child may need more recurring care. We can't wait 6 months for their next well visit. We need to see them in 3 months, and we don't have to be fighting that with anybody.
Sure. And how does it work with vaccines? Because as we both know, there's a lot of vaccines when there's a new babies hanging around. So how do you carry that? What is that like? How do you go from one house to the next with your vaccines? Like, I'm trying to envision what that looks like.
Yeah, so I do offer vaccinations for families, and I have a fridge in the car. And that is how I transport the vaccine that I'm going to be needing for the day. So I don't keep all of my vaccines in the car all the time. So I have my medical fridge in the office, and that kind of stores all of my vaccines. And then whenever I go out to a house visit, I transfer them to my car fridge, and then I get them to the house and administer them there, which is great. I actually, since we've last talked, we got a company car. We got a Tesla, which I love.
What?
The huge benefits is that I can keep my fridge running all the time because it's running off the battery, right? So I don't have to be running the gas to keep the fridge running. So that is great because I can go from multiple home visits without having to come back every time to pick up vaccine to make sure they stay at the appropriate temperature.
Thank you, Elon Musk.
I know. I'm like, this is great. And I got it with auto drive. So I'm like, this makes the house call visits great. I just auto drive on the highway.
So is it wrapped with your logo too? Like, will I be able to? No way.
Yes.
Oh, I can't wait.
Head to toe all over it.
That's fantastic. I love it. I'm so I just feel really proud of you. I mean, you're probably like, what the hell is she proud of me? But I am, because I really think that, when I was managing this practice, the thing that I have a stepson. He's 19 today, and I've been with him since he's 3. And, not being a biological mother, as a stepmom, I had my own issues and, still raising a child 50% of the time. And he would always get sick at night. And, you know, I had access to these doctors because I was the practice manager. So I was able to like just text them. And I used to think, my God, like what do other people do that don't have this? It's so difficult. And we opened a night division because it was, you know, because of personal issues that I was having myself. I said, I can't be the only person. Like, I really think that there's a place for that. And I think it's just very, you know, it's just the way that we should be running our lives today. We should be more thoughtful about what we're doing and how we're spending our money in healthcare, you know, with Uber's the way of everything, right? I want it now. Doctor, I want my package in the driveway right now.
Oh my gosh, like come over. No, I will say though, a lot of the families that I get, you know, I don't want to scare other providers to be like, oh my gosh, this means like people are very demanding and like contacting you all the time. Actually the opposite, because you really get to build a relationship with these families. They know you have a life too, right? So they're like, you know, she's got her baby, she's probably not sleeping, like how can we both work together to make things work? And a lot of times it's always right, the sick visits, like you said, they happen when you least expect them. So I always try to leave room for those sick visits that happen. But I tell you, sometimes I've met with families at Whole Foods because I'm like, you know, I'm in between 2 appointments and I only have this 30-minute gap here. Like, can we meet halfway? And they're like, yeah, I'll meet you at Whole Foods. I gotta go get groceries anyways.
Love it. This is the way it should be. I love that. It really is the way it should be. It should be way more just, you know, our lives have changed so much through these last few years. And we really, to me, a pediatrician, like you're going to be together for like at least 18 years, at least, right? And then they go to college, like they need you. Why not have somebody you actually like and that could meet you at Whole Foods, everybody?
Exactly.
We are not a commercial for Whole Foods.
I know, yeah.
But
that
really,
was just the exact place we met at. They're going to go grocery shopping. And I was like, I'm going to be driving by there. That's perfect. Just right off the highway.
I love it. I think that's so great. Well, I'm definitely going to be looking out for the Tesla. And I love too that you're, you know, you're lessening that carbon imprint. Like you're just doing good work in 2023. I'm so proud. It's so awesome. Is there anything that you would like to leave the audience with before we go?
Definitely if anybody wants to follow us, to know what we're up to, learn more about our plans, our offerings, we post often on social media, so they can follow us at Head to Toe Pediatrics on Instagram or Facebook. We are also working on our new website, which I'm really excited about. That'll be coming out in another few months. We're almost ready, but I love how it's coming out. We're actually using patient drawings that have been given to me to do our design for the website. So keep an eye out for that, because it'll also have all of our new different offerings that we're bringing out for 2023, including the office plan, the house call plans, and some other little things in there.
That's so great. And how far will you go? What is you're in
Yes.
St. Pete.
I am in St. Pete. So because the office is open, that also allowed me to shorten my radius. So I do up to 30 minutes from St. Pete.
Mm-hmm. That
will be going down to 15 minutes later, probably for next year. But I have families from Sarasota and from way other further places that come to the office, which was actually another reason why we opened the office, because some families would Airbnb like for the weekend, and then I'd see them on Friday, and then they stayed in St. Pete for the weekend just to get seen. So it allowed them to not have to get Airbnbs every time they came.
Well, so do you take a lot of people that are here on vacation? I always forget, right? Because like we live in the vacation capital of the world.
Yeah,
so a lot of
I
people
do have families that snowbird, right? So they're like here part of the year, elsewhere other part of the year. And there's like, if somebody knows about me through someone else, and that's how they're visiting here, that's how I've like seen them, like if they're a friend of a current patient. But we do not like routinely, just like if they're visiting and they Google us, we don't go out for like those one-time visits.
Sure. Got it. Well, I love what you're doing. I think it's great. We're going to have all the information of how to get in touch with Head to Toe Pediatrics. Congratulations on everything. dare I say, just everything.
Thank
It's
you.
fantastic.
It's always fun having,
Yeah.
being on the show now, like I'm having you on my show, right?
Well, that'll be next. I'm sure by the time we talk again, she'll have a show. She'll be speaking at conferences across the globe.
Oh my God. I am actually speaking at a conference next weekend for the very first pediatric mastermind conference, pediatricians who are doing direct primary care. And I'm going to be speaking on health costs as one of the pioneers in the field, and multiple providers from all over the United States are going to be joining. So really excited about what we're creating here.
Look at you, mic dropping all over the place. Yay. So proud of you. That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being here. I highly, highly recommend if you got some babies, this is where you want to be. You want to be treating those babies in the year that we're actually living in.
That's true.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.